Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am the Poverty Princess. Today is my question and answer video, and this is actually kind of fun. I had fun really sitting and thinking about some of you guys' questions and how I would answer them. And I do like the variety of questions you guys presented to me. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so I'm going to go with my first question, which is from Deborah Wood. And she says, do you and Ronnie ever have disagreements? And if so, how do you handle them? Do they ever get bad? Lately, we haven't had arguments. I think a good reason for that is my other son isn't here. He basically had taken over my parlor, shall we say, when he was staying here. And it felt like you couldn't go in that room. You couldn't do anything in that room because he was essentially sleeping on my futon. And he just started getting weirder and weirder and weirder. And then before the beginning of this year, he took off. Nobody in the family has heard from him. He's supposed to be here in town. A very odd situation with him. Like, we really don't know what's going on with him, but I think just because he used to give us a runaround as far as his rent money and that it used to put Ronnie and I on edge, because Ronnie would want to say something to him and I'd be like, no, because I didn't want an argument and that kind of thing. But no, I'd say for the most part we haven't here, and that's a very good thing. Now, have we in the past? Yes, we have had a few really very nasty arguments. Thank God they're very few and far between, but when they occur, they're nasty, they are. How do we handle them? Well, Ronnie has a bad temper, like I do, and he will throw things. And in the past, I have thrown things too. Not a good way to be, most definitely. It has to be something that really has me, like, seeing red to get to that point. But yeah, for the few arguments we did have in the past, that pretty much is what would happen. But no, for the most part, we actually do get along pretty good. We know how to give each other space, even in a small apartment. And at least we can sit down and we can talk, which is actually the most important thing. Especially when, you know, you have more than one person living under the same roof, and it happens to be one of your adult children. So, yeah, my final answer to that is we have in the past. Not recently. I would say probably for not a good 7-8 months. So that's actually pretty good. Alrighty, so my next question is from Amber 12+. Hi, Amber. I know you're not feeling good, so I hope you're okay. What is the scariest thing that's ever happened to you? Not necessarily a personal trauma, unless you're comfortable sharing that, but any crazy situations or natural disasters, always interesting to hear about. What is the scariest thing that has ever happened to me? I would say the scariest thing that ever happened to me. The night of my 18th birthday, well, actually, the night of my 18th birthday into my 18th birthday, I had a fight with the guy I was seeing then. I was like a block away from my house. Actually, not even a block. I was like literally catty corner from my grandmother's apartment. And this car came up the alley, and it turned out to be people I knew, and they were just riding around partying, and I was aggravated because me and that guy, we had an argument, and it was my birthday, and I wanted to go out and do something, so I jumped in the car with them. Now, oddly enough, the horoscopes in the Standard Speaker newspaper were saying to Sagittarians, and this is true, this is very true, to avoid traveling in motor vehicles. I kid you not. For years, and this is another reason why I wish I had them scrapbooks that went missing when a so-called friend was storing my stuff from me. I had literally saved them all these years. Well, not now, but over the years, I had saved them. I had them in a little cellophane wrapper from cigarette packs. And there was like literally 3 horoscopes in like a week and a half period for Sagittarius that was popping up in the Standard Speaker. It kept saying, avoid traveling in a motor vehicle if you can, blah, blah, blah. This and that was so weird. And my grandmother had cut them out and given them to me, you know, to be a smart ass, because she knew I used to like to go riding around with friends. Well, that night, unbeknownst to all of us in the car, and the car was overpacked. There was probably 9 people, and there should have only been like 5 in the car. The last thing I remember was sitting on someone's lap, drinking beer, so not good. That was the last thing I remember, and I was sitting in the back. When I woke up, the car was literally partway up a tree, and I was under the dashboard. And the car door, the passenger door was open, the driver's door was open, the doors were open. And I didn't know if anybody else was still in the car. And the kid whose lap I had been sitting on, oddly enough, was trying to, like, pull me out. I was jammed under the dashboard, and he couldn't budge me. And so the driver, she had smashed her head off the steering wheel and everything. Her head was bleeding. Her and, I forget who was sitting up in the passenger seat up front with her, they found a house, and they went to the house, and they called, I guess it was the state troopers, to the accident. So I remember the kid whose lap I was sitting on in the back seat talking to me and telling me, like, you know, stop freaking, calm down, this and that, you know, somebody's coming, this and that, you know, I'm gonna get you out of here, and this and that. And I'm like, screw this, I gotta get the F out of here. And I don't know how in the hell I did it. I don't know if I grabbed onto the seat, pulled myself up on my elbows. I don't even know how in the hell I did it, but I got myself out from under the dashboard, and I was just laying there on the ground. And it wasn't until I tried to sit up that I realized, oh my God, I was in so much pain. Here, when we were taken up to the hospital, come to find out that either, I guess, getting thrown around in the car and winding up under there, broke some of my ribs, and me getting myself out broke them more, or broke more, I don't know. But either way, suffice to say that I had broken ribs. And I can tell you that that was hell, because everyone deliberately, to be an ass, was trying to, like, cheer me up and making me laugh. And oh my God, it hurt to laugh, it hurt to cough, it hurt to sneeze, it hurt to breathe. And I dealt with that damn pain, I want to say, for like almost 2 months. It was horrible, absolutely horrible. That was like, up until that moment, the very scariest thing that had ever really happened to me, you know? And I think even that pales in comparison to, you know, what we're dealing with now, to be honest. Oh, what I wanted to finish talking about the car accident was that, unbeknownst to us, there was a problem with the car. The girl who was driving it, she had used her aunt's car, and apparently carbon dioxide was, I guess, the car was filling up with it, and essentially everyone, or not carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, yeah, why did I say carbon dioxide? Okay, the car was filling up with carbon monoxide, and nobody noticed it. So essentially what happened was, everybody in the car got knocked out from the fumes. The girl that was driving wasn't drinking, and thankfully the reason she wasn't drinking is because she had a hunch that she was actually pregnant, and she was actually planning on doing a home pregnancy test that week. So she had just, I guess her husband had, he was working that night, and she was bored, and I guess it was a cousin of hers called her or something and said, you know, hey, what are you doing, you know, let's go for a ride, whatever. That's how that ensued. So it was, you know, really messed up to find out weeks later, you know, that the car, there was a problem with the, I guess it was the muffler, and that's why the carbon monoxide was coming into the car and knocked everybody out. But thankfully, nobody was seriously hurt. Nobody, you know, God forbid, died. Like, and that was a very scary thing. It was a very scary thing, and it really bothered me for the longest time, because also, about an hour or two, I guess, before the accident, we passed a car wreck on the same road. The road where we hit a tree, back farther, we passed a car accident. And I remember, like, we went by real slow. There were stadies there, and, you know, ambulances, and oh my God, like, it was terrible. And we all looked and said, oh my God, you know, who could survive that? Not knowing until I was up at the hospital, and I was really, really heartbroken. I got my hands on that morning's paper, come to find out that a girl I had gone to school with, knew since kindergarten, died in that car accident, but everybody else was expected to make it. And I went to her viewing, and it was the hardest thing. And you know, it's freaky, because I was really, really questioning myself, thinking, why her? She had a scholarship to go to college. She was a really good person. She was very smart. She was a really good runner. And my way of thinking was, why her? Why her? She was also the only girl in her family. Of 6 kids, there was 5 boys, 1 girl. She was the only girl. And that bugged me for the longest time, trying to figure out, well, why her? Why her and not me? Because I was a reckless person, I honestly say and believe that. My life didn't really have, per se, a sense of direction after I graduated high school. And she did, and she had plans, and she, like, had future goals. And it just seemed, like, rather unfair that that was taken from her, you know? I spent a couple of years really, really wondering that, never getting anything that satisfactorily brought me peace. I don't know. I don't dwell on it now, but when I was younger, I did really wonder about that a lot. Alright, my next question is from Goldie Tomlinson. do you live in an apartment that is rent controlled? How long have you lived there? No, I don't live in a rent-controlled apartment. Rent control has not been in Hazleton, Pennsylvania, probably since the 70s or early 80s. This is a regular apartment that my son and I pay full rent for. It's not a government-subsidized apartment. Yeah, I haven't heard anything about rent control in, oh my gosh, yeah, I want to say maybe 70s when I was real young, into the 80s. Yeah, landlords associations and that made a big push in Pennsylvania to get rid of rent control. I guess, one, because they felt they weren't getting what their properties are actually worth, and then like with Hazleton and the property tax is always going up and everything, so rent control was abolished. I think in a way that it should be brought back, because there is some real divey places that people are going broke paying for, and they should be shut down. They have bedbugs, they have cockroaches, things like that, and yet code enforcement doesn't seem to do a damn thing to help tenants get out of these situations and hold the landlords responsible. So no, we pay regular rent in this apartment. It's a 2-bedroom apartment. How long have we lived here? Well, originally we were living upstairs. We moved into the apartment upstairs, and that will be, I'm gonna say 3 years in August. Yeah, I'm gonna say it will be 3 years in August that we have lived at this address. We just moved after the first year down here. The same side of the building. We have a really good landlord, and he definitely is a really good guy. He worked with us when we were having money issues, so yeah, you don't very often get a good landlord, but we have one. And so yeah, we definitely want to, you know, keep him as a landlord for as long as we can. You know, he's a good guy. Mary asks, do you have nice neighbors? How does Ronnie like his job? Have the gloves you bought him helped? Yeah, we do have nice neighbors. This is a pretty quiet building. My neighbor over here, Judith, is a Spanish lady, amazing cook. Oh my gosh, I have eaten like some of her food, and it is like so good, so good. Her youngest son is like really close in age of Ronnie, and they often worked at like the same temp service, just different shifts and things like that. She's a very nice woman, very nice lady. And then upstairs there is Jeff. I don't know, he kind of bounces around from jobs to jobs, I believe. I haven't seen him lately. About almost 3 weeks ago, he stopped me and Ronnie, gave us an envelope with most of his rent in, and said he was going to be going to New York to work. He was in his clothes from a home health care company here in town, and said that he was going to be going to New York. He was doing construction. So I texted the landlord, told them I had it. He said, okay, yeah, Jeff told me he gave it to you, and he came by the next day and got it, wrote a receipt for him, and I put it in his mailbox. So I'm assuming that that day Jeff went to New York. Now where in New York, I don't know. I believe he did come back a few days later. And that was probably just around when it was starting to get bad in New York as far as the virus. Again, I don't know where in New York. So, I haven't really seen much of him. I hear him come down maybe like every other day or so to get his mail. I'm thinking maybe because of everything that happened in New York, he might be self-isolating, which is probably a good thing. And then the lady upstairs over us, she actually, she is pretty cool. She is a permanent employee of Hinkle Dial. So when Ronnie was working there through the System 1 temp, he was surprised to find out that she worked there, you know, the shift before him. He was working overnight. Also, it turns out that we also know her son. Haven't seen him in years, but we know her son. So, small world, you know, the saying, small world. So yeah, we have a good building, and we do like our neighbors. And, you know, Charlene is the newest tenant here. Judith has been here as long as we have. And Jeff has been here, Jeff has been actually here. Jeff was here before we moved in, to be honest. So, yeah, Judith and I moved in at the same time. Actually, same day. It was crazy. How does Ronnie like his job? Well, Ronnie and the other System 1 temp employees were all let go from Dial. Now, interestingly enough, and when Ronnie wakes up, I'm going to tell him this. When my landlord was just here, came by to get our rent, he said his buddy just got hired out there through Dial, and it was a different temp service. So I don't know what to make about that. Why Dial would leave one crew of workers from a temp service go, and then hire another group of temp workers. I just don't understand that. So now it does make me question, is when this is over, is Ronnie going to have a job there or not? I don't know. I don't know what the hell's going on as far as that. So I'm going to have to mention this to Ronnie, and maybe he can make a few phone calls and try to figure out what the hell's going on with that, you know? Have the gloves you bought him helped? Yes, they did help him. When he did actually go back on machines and that, they definitely did. If he had probably had them from the start, he probably would not have had the issue with the spring in his hand, to be honest. If he had had them instead of those crappy, really bungalows, you know? Debbie Wilson says, you seem to face a lot of adversity with a good attitude. It must be harder than it seems. I also face some struggles being a single older woman. How do you maintain your emotions in a positive manner? I know it can be difficult. Thanks. Stay well. Well, oh gosh. I want to say that probably about 5-6 years ago. No, I want to say even longer than that. I think when my relationship with this guy, Rob, just like finally ended, and he got it through his thick head that done was done. Having been back and forth court with this guy, I think then I just learned to forgive the goof and let go, because carrying a lot of just like anger and bad feeling and all that it's very hard to keep carrying that and not have it affect you. So after that experience, I think I just learned to just let a lot of things go, because in the bigger picture they really don't matter and they're not worth getting upset over. The saying I could think of is choose your battles wisely. Some things are worth being, you know, upset about and involved in, and then there's other things that aren't. I also do believe that you know, things do work out, and I know a lot of times it's hard to hold that thought, that positivity, like, yeah, things are going to work out. And I'm the first to admit that sometimes, you know, I do question that in my head and really, really get ticked off and, like, you know, maybe to my friends or something, bitch about something or that, you know. For the most part, though, I do try to stay upbeat. I don't like being a miserable, you know, complaining type of person. It takes a lot to really, really, like, irritate me and tick me off. So, I'm going to say, most of the time it's pretty easy. I just don't let a lot of things get to me now that I'm 55 that I would have, say, 20 years ago. You know, once in a while, though, I mean, I do question things. You know, it's human nature. But, yeah, for the most part, I mean, I do believe that things work out. They always do. And then when you get older, you really, I don't know how to say it, you choose your battles wisely. Is I guess how I would answer that. I try to be positive, and I have days where I'm not, to be honest. You know, we're all like that. But I think for the most part, I'm the happy to wake up and be alive kind of person, and, you know, roll with the day, see where it takes you, what happens, you know. Mom's Losing Her Mind asks, I've heard you mention other kids besides Ronnie. Hi Ronnie, how many kids do you have? I have 3 sons. 3 sons that are alive. I'm going to have to elaborate. My oldest son is named Randy. He's married, has had a crazy up and down marriage. I will admit that. Him and my daughter-in-law, they have Jaden, my oldest granddaughter. She's going to be 17 in June. They have Jordan. Jordan didn't live with them when they were young. They were teenage parents. They had 2 kids by the time they were 18. Long story with that. I had Jaden staying with me when she was little from the time she was 6 months old till she was 2.5. But they were involved with her, obviously, in that, and a part of her life, just that she lived with me. I had residential custody. I didn't ask for it. I was given it. That, too, is a long story. And then when my son and his wife were split years ago, he was seeing someone, she was seeing someone, she got pregnant by the guy, and she had Jayla Lynn. So Jayla Lynn biologically is not my son's daughter, but he has raised her since she was a baby. She, I believe, is with her biological father for years. There was the custody agreements where she spent time in Jersey with her dad, and then here in PA with her mom and my son. And then that kind of got screwed up when him and my daughter-in-law, I guess, like, started not agreeing on things, and that just got totally messed up. But I have always accepted her as my daughter-in-law, and I've always accepted Jayla as my granddaughter, you know? I mean, like, she's a child, you know? Can't take out on a child adult things, is the way I look at that. And she's a sweet girl. She's funny. Very funny. Silly, goofy, funny. A very pretty girl. Very pretty girl. And I have, the closeness with them. Unfortunately, I don't have that with my grandson anywhere near as good. And part of that is because he was living all these years with a different family. As I said, that's a different, crazy situation. Now, when I was pregnant with Randy, I was pregnant with twins, and somewhere in between my 4th, 5th month, the other twin died. I developed toxemia, and it was after I delivered that I found out that my oldest son would have had a twin. I kept telling the doctor that there was more than one, kept telling me no. I didn't know what I was talking about. Months later, when he told me, I looked at him and I said, told you so. Told you so. Don't know how I knew. I knew. So, yeah, that was crazy. So Randy would have a twin brother. Then I had my son, Bobby. Him and Randy were 15 months apart. They're very close in age. And then several years later, I had Ronnie. And then I had a stillborn child, Ronnie's little brother. His name was Rylan. If you hear me say about going to the cemetery, that's who I'm talking about, going up to Rylan's grave, which I actually would like to do. I wanted to do it this week, but I got busy. I wanted to get new solar stakes and put them up at the cemetery. I'm probably, with everything going on with this virus, not going to be able to take a bus up and go, so I'm going to be a hell of a long walk. Maybe I could take a bus. I don't know yet. I'll have to see. But I would like to go there. And there is a beautiful pet cemetery in back of this cemetery. I would love to actually, the film back there is so peaceful and so pretty. It's sad, but yet it's also beautiful when you see the tributes and that people paid to their pets. It's beautiful. I hope to get up there soon and show you guys that. Very pretty, very pretty. Randy his birthday is coming up. It's April 6th. He was born in 86. Bobby's birthday is July 22nd. He was born in 87. And then Ronnie's birthday was November 17th, 1990. And Rylan was born in October. He was born, I want to say, 2 years after, he was born 2 years after Ronnie. My oldest is going to be, let me see here a minute. Okay, Randy is going to be 34 in April. Bobby will be turning 33 in July. Ronnie is 29, and in November he will turn the big 3-0. Wow, crazy. Very crazy, Like, God, I'm getting old. Shonda R. says, seems like you enjoy cooking. What is your favorite dish to cook? Who taught you to cook? And what was the first thing you learned to cook? God bless. Well, Shonda, my grandmother taught me how to cook, not my mom. My mom is not a good cook, and I feel terrible for saying that, but it is true. My mother was not necessarily a domestic kind of woman. She burned hard-boiled eggs. So, yeah, my grandmother taught me how to cook. One of the first things she actually taught me to make, I want to say, actually was soups. And my grandfather enjoyed soups and that in the winter, and I remember her teaching me how to make different kinds of soup. Chicken noodle soup was actually the first thing she taught me how to make. What is my favorite thing to make? I'm gonna say meatloaf. Well, it's kind of a tie between like a good pot of soup, any kind of soup, and or meatloaf. I really like meatloaf because you can like do so many different things with it and make it so many different ways, make it different every time you make it. So I'm gonna say it's like a tie. It's a tie between meatloaf and a good pot of soup. Now, the very first thing she ever taught me to bake was a chocolate cake with the homemade peanut butter frosting. I wanted to throw that out there. That was the first thing she ever taught me how to bake. And I saved what I call the deepest questions for last. From James Duckstuff. What's your favorite movie? What celebrity musician would you hang out with for a day if you could? What song do you feel is the anthem of your life? This is a deep question, a three-part question, because I have different answers for it for different stages of my life. I'm definitely going to say that when I was a teenager into my 20s, I would say the anthem of my life was Bananarama, Wildlife. And I would say at the time my favorite movie was Wildlife. I liked that better than Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Wildlife, even now, I come across clips of it on YouTube. I actually have to try and get my hands on a copy of that movie. It was just a cool movie. And I've always loved having that party and all them people in that apartment literally come crashing through the wall into the neighbor's apartment and just, oh my God, totally destroying that two apartments in that condo. The scene where all them guys go to the strip club and that poor blonde stripper gets knocked out and she falls right off the stage, and that was funny. The big donut outside the donut shop falling on the police cruiser, that was funny. There's like really memorable scenes in that movie. Chris Penn, I think, was actually a trip in that movie. I just love that movie. So say like my late teens into mid-20s, Wildlife. That was definitely my movie. That song was my anthem. I am going to say that when I was in my, I guess it was 30s when Titanic came out. Titanic was like my favorite movie for the longest time. Still up there in like my top 5. Dirty Dancing is another one. Any Patrick Swayze movie is always my favorite. Roadhouse, Ghost. I think the two favorite Patrick Swayze movies of mine, definitely, it's I can't decide between them, Dirty Dancing and Ghost, because he was amazing in both of them. Titanic, though, holds a special place in my heart. Anything Titanic. And I also loved Purple Rain. That was an amazing movie that also was up there. American Beauty, I also like that movie too. Kevin Spacey was so good in that. Well, my favorite movie, Avatar. Avatar was another wonderful movie. Really, that was just incredible. Like, beautiful, to be honest. Beautiful. Right now, I don't know right now if I have a favorite movie. Well, yeah, I guess in a way I do. It's more a holiday movie, but it makes me laugh, and I just can't help it. Daddy's Home too. I love that crazy movie right now, even when that came out, because I just love Mel Gibson's character, that lecherous guy that he is, trying to pick up all the women and just being such a blatant flirt and totally dissing his son and like just being so macho, and seeing how like he made his adult son feel and everything. It kind of gives you an insight into how he was raised, you know, and why he was just like an ass to his son. So yeah, like if I'm disgusted or overwhelmed, my go-to movie lately has been Daddy's Home too, just because, oh my god, I laugh so bad. And especially at Mel Gibson's character, because he's just like, he's just such a terrible father, you know. What celebrity musician would I hang out with for a day if I could? Oh my gosh, hands down, it would be Prince. It would be Prince. I was a big Prince fan. Absolutely loved Prince. Never stopped liking him. Very, very heartbroken. Bawled my eyes out when he passed away. I would say it was almost a tie with him and Michael Jackson, because I love Michael Jackson's music too. I think the reason that I didn't like actually say it was a tie between Prince and Michael Jackson is because I tended to look at Michael Jackson a little bit differently after the lawsuits and that years ago and everything, and my thinking always was, if you're not guilty, you don't have to pay anyone anything. Why would you settle? And that has always been my sticking point with that. Do I think that he had issues? Oh my god, yes. He had no childhood. And if you look at Neverland, that's a perfect thing right there, showing you that inside, mentally, and I think in his heart, he was always Peter Pan, the little boy that never grew up because he never got to have a real childhood. Now that certainly, God forbid, doesn't excuse, you know, what occurred. But I'm just saying it makes you find that more believable when you just like take a step back and look at, you know, his life and everything. So yeah, it's a shame that is something that tarnished his image, but didn't tarnish his music. And you know, like that's a shame, because he was a hell of a performer, just like Prince. They both were in their own way. Talent that the world very seldom gets, and definitely their loss is felt. Well guys, this has been an enjoyable video. I enjoyed answering you guys' questions. If you would like to see me do another Q&A video down the road, you are more than welcome to leave, you know, other questions and comments down below. If you like this video, guys, please give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget to hit my subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching. For those of you who can, 7 p.m. tonight, maybe give or take a few minutes. I'm going to try between 7 and say 7:20 to be online tonight. I'm going to have to charge my laptop up. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Stay safe, Everyone's in my thoughts and prayers. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.